I thought my life was perfect, until the truth came out. The phone vibrated at 3 a.m., pulling me from a restless sleep. The message on my screen would change my life forever. Please call me. There's something you need to know. Sarah. Sarah. My best friend of 15 years. The woman who stood beside me at my wedding. The person I trusted with my deepest secrets. Why was she texting me at this ungodly hour? I dialed her number with trembling fingers. The phone rang 3 times before I heard her voice. Broken, sobbing, barely recognizable. Emma. I'm so sorry. I can't keep this secret anymore. The guilt is killing me. My heart began to race. Something was terribly wrong. Sarah, what's going on? Why are you crying? There was a long pause. I could hear her struggling to breathe between sobs. Then, finally, the words that would shatter my world. Marcus and I, your husband and I, we've been seeing each other for 6 months. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. The room started spinning. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, all the air knocked out of my lungs. My voice came out as barely a whisper. What did you just say? Emma, he's going to leave you. Tomorrow he has a meeting with lawyers. And it's not just about the affair. He's planning to take your company too. He's been preparing to steal everything from you. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The last 6 months flashed before my eyes like a horror movie I'd been living but hadn't realized I was watching. Marcus's strange behavior, the late nights at the office, the phone conversations he'd take in other rooms, the way he'd pull away when I tried to touch him, the coldness in his eyes that I'd convinced myself I was imagining. It had all been a lie. Our entire marriage had been a lie. But something didn't add up. Sarah, I said, my voice steadier now, anger beginning to replace shock. Why are you telling me this now? Another pause. More sobbing. Because today I overheard him on the phone with his lawyer. Emma, he's not just ending your marriage. He's planning to destroy you. He's going to accuse you of fraud, embezzlement. He has fake documents, fake evidence. He's going to take your company, your money, everything. You could go to prison, Emma. I can't be part of this anymore. I can't let him do this to you. I hung up the phone. My hands were shaking, but my mind was crystal clear. There was no time for tears. No time for heartbreak. I had to act, and I had to act fast. 10 years ago, I founded TechVista, a software company that had grown from a startup in my garage to a $50 million enterprise. Marcus had joined me 5 years ago as my chief financial officer. He'd been charming, supportive, everything I thought I wanted in a partner. We got married 3 years later. Now I understood. He hadn't fallen in love with me. He'd fallen in love with my money, my success, my company. And he'd been planning to take it all from the very beginning. I went straight to my laptop and logged into the company's financial systems. As CEO and founder, I had access to everything. And there, in the cold light of my computer screen, I found it. Systematic transfers of money over the last 3 months. Small amounts, carefully designed not to trigger any alarms. But when I added them up, $2 million had vanished from our accounts. I traced the money. It led to an offshore account registered under Sarah's brother's name, David Mitchell. So it wasn't just an affair. Marcus and Sarah had been systematically stealing from my company, setting up their elaborate scheme to frame me and take everything I'd built. It was 4 a.m. I called my lawyer, Jennifer Hayes. She wasn't just my attorney. She'd been my friend since college and specialized in cases exactly like this. Emma? It's 4 in the morning. What's wrong? I told her everything. Every detail. The affair, the missing money, Sarah's confession, the planned lawsuit. I could hear Jennifer's sharp intake of breath. Emma, listen to me very carefully. You need to stay calm. Don't let them know you're onto them. Don't confront Marcus. Don't say anything to anyone. Come to my office first thing in the morning. We're going to win this, but we need to be strategic. But I couldn't wait until morning. I needed answers. I needed evidence. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I drove to my office through the empty streets. The night security guard, Robert, looked surprised to see me but waved me through. Burning the midnight oil, Miss Thompson? Something like that, Robert. Something like that. My office building felt different at night, quieter, darker, almost ominous. I took the elevator to the executive floor and went straight to Marcus's office. As CEO, I had master access to everything in the building, including his computer. What I found there was worse than I could have imagined. Hundreds of emails between Marcus and Sarah. Not just love letters, though there were plenty of those, each one making me feel physically sick, but detailed plans. Plans to destroy me, to steal my company, to frame me for crimes I never committed. They'd created fake documents showing I'd been embezzling money from the company. Fabricated records of illegal transactions with my digital signature forged on every page. They'd manufactured a complete false narrative showing me as a corrupt CEO stealing from her own business. The plan was diabolical in its simplicity. Marcus would file for divorce, simultaneously accusing me of fraud. With him as CFO, he had the credibility to make the accusations stick. With Sarah as my best friend, she could testify to my supposed lavish lifestyle and suspicious behavior. They'd seized control of the company while I fought the criminal charges. By the time I could prove my innocence, if I even could, they'd have already sold off the company's assets and disappeared with the money. But then I found an email that made my blood run cold. It was from Sarah to Marcus, dated just 2 days ago. My love. Only 48 hours until it all comes together. Everything we've worked for, everything we've planned. Tuesday morning, the lawyers will have everything ready. Emma won't know what hit her. By the time she realizes what's happening, it will be too late. Her life will be over, and ours will finally begin. We'll be together and rich beyond our wildest dreams. I can't wait to see her face when she realizes her best friend and her husband betrayed her. She's always been so naive, so trusting. It almost feels too easy. I love you more than anything. Just 2 more days. Forever yours, Sarah. Today was Monday. They were going to execute their plan tomorrow. I copied everything. Every email, every fake document, every piece of evidence of their conspiracy. Then I checked the office security cameras. I needed to access the footage from the past few months. What I saw on those recordings made me physically ill. Marcus and Sarah in my office, on my desk, in my chair. They'd been conducting their affair in the very space where I'd built my dreams. The disrespect, the violation, it was almost more than I could bear. But I didn't have time to process the emotional trauma. I had evidence and I had a plan. At 7 a.m., I arrived at Jennifer's office with a briefcase full of evidence. She was already there, coffee in hand, looking at me with concern. Emma, you look terrible. Did you sleep at all? No. But I've been busy. I opened the briefcase and started laying out documents. I have everything we need. Jennifer's eyes widened as she reviewed the evidence. The emails, the bank records, the security footage, the fake documents. She looked up at me with something like awe. Emma, this is incredible. You've handed us everything on a silver platter. This isn't just divorce and theft. This is conspiracy, fraud, embezzlement, corporate espionage. Marcus is looking at 15 to 20 years in federal prison. Minimum. It's not just Marcus, I said, my voice cold and steady. Sarah is equally culpable. The money was going to an account in her brother's name. She was the one who got close to me, who gained my trust specifically to help Marcus destroy me. Jennifer smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator who just spotted prey. Emma, I'm going to craft something special for you. They plan to destroy your life, but we're going to obliterate theirs so completely that... No, I interrupted. We're going to do this by the book. Legal, ethical, complete. I don't want revenge. I want justice. I want them to face the full consequences of what they've done, but I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror when this is over. Jennifer nodded slowly. You're a better person than most, Emma. Okay, we'll do this the right way. But trust me, the right way is still going to destroy them completely. We spent the next several hours planning. Jennifer made calls to contacts at the FBI, specifically their white-collar crime division. By noon, we had a meeting scheduled with Special Agent Rodriguez for that afternoon. I went home around 1 p.m. Marcus was in the kitchen making coffee, looking as normal as ever. When he saw me, he smiled, that fake, disgusting smile I now recognized for what it was. Good morning, sweetheart. You're up early. Couldn't sleep, I said, forcing myself to sound normal. Went for a drive to clear my head. Everything okay? He asked, and I could see the calculation in his eyes. Was I suspicious? Did I know something? Just stressed about the product launch next month. I lied smoothly. You know how I get. He relaxed. You worry too much. Everything's going to be fine. Better than fine. He had no idea how right he was. Just not in the way he thought. Marcus, I said. What if we had a special dinner tomorrow night? Just the two of us. I feel like we've been distant lately. I want to reconnect. I saw panic flash across his face for just a moment before he controlled it. Tomorrow? Actually, I have a really important meeting tomorrow that I can't reschedule. It's crucial for the company. What meeting? I don't remember seeing anything on the calendar. It's a new potential investor. Very last minute. Very high level. I didn't want to bother you with it until I knew it was solid. Lies. All lies. His meeting was with his lawyers to finalize the documents that would destroy me. Okay, I said with a smile. Wednesday then. Wednesday is perfect, he said, kissing my forehead. I had to force myself not to flinch. I love you, Emma. I love you too, I replied, and it was the last time I would ever say those words to him. That afternoon, I met with FBI Special Agent Rodriguez and his team. I laid out all the evidence I'd gathered. Agent Rodriguez was a man in his 50s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Miss Thompson, he said after reviewing everything, this is one of the most comprehensive evidence packages I've seen in my 20 years with the Bureau. You've essentially done our job for us. Tomorrow, I said without hesitation. They're executing their plan tomorrow morning. I want to catch them in the act. Agent Rodriguez nodded. We can do that. We'll need to coordinate with the district attorney's office, but with evidence this solid, we can have arrest warrants ready by tomorrow morning. There's one more thing, I said. Sarah mentioned that her brother, David Mitchell, has the offshore account in his name. I don't know if he's part of this or if they're using him. We'll investigate that thoroughly, Agent Rodriguez assured me. If he's innocent, we'll clear him. If he's complicit, he'll face charges too. I spent the rest of the day at the office, pretending everything was normal. Marcus came by my office around 4 p.m. How's your day going? He asked, leaning against my doorframe with false casualness. Busy but good. How about you? Same. Listen, I might be late tonight. I have to prepare for tomorrow's meeting. No problem, I said. I'll probably work late too. Big project. He nodded and left. As soon as he was gone, I pulled up the office security cameras on my computer. I watched as Marcus went to his office, made several phone calls, and then left the building. I tracked him through the parking garage cameras as he got into his car. I'd hired a private investigator that morning. His name was James Chon, and Jennifer had recommended him highly. He was now following Marcus. 30 minutes later, James sent me photos. Marcus had met Sarah at a hotel bar. They were kissing, laughing, celebrating their impending victory. They had no idea that tomorrow, instead of destroying me, they'd be destroying themselves. That night, Marcus came home around 11 p.m. He said he'd been working late. I pretended to believe him. We went to bed, lying next to each other, and I felt like I was sleeping next to a stranger, which I realized I was. I had never really known this man at all. Tuesday morning arrived. The day of reckoning. Marcus got up early, showered, and put on his best suit. Big day, he said. Wish me luck with that investor meeting. Good luck, I said, watching him leave. I waited 30 minutes, then called Jennifer. It's time. I arrived at my office at 9 a.m. Jennifer was already there, along with Agent Rodriguez and 2 other FBI agents. They were waiting in a conference room down the hall from my office. At 10 a.m. my assistant buzzed me. Miss Thompson, Mr. Thompson is here to see you. He says it's important and he's brought some lawyers with him. Send them to conference room A, I said. Also, Sarah Mitchell is here? Of course she was. She wouldn't miss the show. Send her too. I waited 5 minutes before walking to the conference room. I wanted them to sweat a little. When I opened the door, I found Marcus sitting at the head of the table, my usual spot, with 2 lawyers on either side. Sarah sat in the corner, trying to look concerned but unable to hide the glimmer of excitement in her eyes. Emma, Marcus said, standing up with false concern. Thank you for meeting with us on short notice. I sat down across from him. When my husband says we need to talk and brings lawyers, I make time. What's this about? Marcus exchanged glances with his attorneys. One of them, a thin man with glasses, spoke first. Miss Thompson, I'm Attorney Morrison, and this is my colleague Attorney Chan. We represent Mr. Thompson in some very serious matters. What matters? I asked, keeping my voice level. Marcus leaned forward, trying to look sympathetic. Emma, this is really hard for me to say, but our marriage hasn't been working for a while now. I think we both know that. I want a divorce. I nodded slowly. I see. And you needed lawyers present to tell me this. There's more, Attorney Morrison said. Mr. Thompson has uncovered some serious financial irregularities in the company. Money is missing, Ms. Thompson. Significant amounts of money. And the evidence suggests that you've been embezzling funds from your own company. I let the silence hang in the air for a moment. Then I looked at Sarah, who was trying very hard to look shocked and supportive. Sarah, why are you here? She jumped slightly, not expecting to be addressed. Emma, Marcus called me. He told me what was happening. I came as your friend. I wanted to be here for you. My friend, I repeated softly. My best friend. We have documentation, the other lawyer, Attorney Chan, said, sliding a folder across the table. Bank records, transfer authorizations, all with your signature. Ms. Thompson, if these allegations are proven true, you're not just looking at losing your company. You could face criminal charges. Prison time. I opened the folder and looked at the documents. Perfect forgeries. If I hadn't known they were fake, even I might have believed them. These are very serious accusations, I said quietly. Marcus leaned back and I saw it. Just for a flash, the satisfaction in his eyes. He thought he was winning. He thought he'd destroyed me. Emma, he said, his voice dripping with false concern. I didn't want it to come to this. But I have a fiduciary duty to the company. I have to report this. However, if you're willing to step down as CEO voluntarily, transfer your shares to a trust that I'll manage, we might be able to avoid criminal prosecution. There it was. The real plan. Not just divorce, not just revenge. He wanted everything. My company, my money, my freedom, my life. I stood up slowly. Excuse me for just one moment. I walked to the door and opened it. Agent Rodriguez and his team were waiting right outside. Gentlemen, Ms. Mitchell, I'd like you to meet FBI Special Agent Rodriguez and his team from the White Collar Crimes Division. The room erupted. Marcus jumped to his feet, his face going white. Sarah gasped and started crying immediately. The lawyers looked at each other in shock. Agent Rodriguez entered the room with 3 other agents. Marcus Thompson, Sarah Mitchell, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, embezzlement, wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit identity theft. What? Marcus shouted. This is insane. Emma, what have you done? I smiled for the first time that day. A real smile. Me? I didn't do anything, Marcus. I simply discovered the truth. You stole $2 million from our company and transferred it to an offshore account. You created fraudulent documents to frame me for your crimes. You conspired with Sarah to destroy my life and steal my company. The agents moved forward with handcuffs. Marcus tried to back away. This is a mistake. Those documents prove that she's the thief. Those documents are forgeries, Agent Rodriguez said calmly. We have the originals. We have your emails. We have security footage. We have everything, Mr. Thompson. He turned to Sarah, who was sobbing hysterically. Please, Emma. Please. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. Marcus. He manipulated me. He made me do it. Save it for your lawyer, Ms. Mitchell, I said coldly. Actually, speaking of lawyers. I turned to the 2 attorneys who were still sitting at the table in shock. Gentlemen, I'd strongly suggest you withdraw from this case immediately. You've been used to perpetrate fraud. And while I believe you didn't know it, continuing to represent Mr. Thompson could make you accomplices after the fact. Attorney Morrison and Attorney Chan grabbed their briefcases and practically ran from the room. As the agents read Marcus and Sarah their rights and led them away in handcuffs, Marcus turned to look at me one last time. Emma, please, don't do this. Remember, we loved each other once. No, Marcus, I said quietly. You never loved me. You loved my money. You loved what I could give you. And now you're going to pay for that mistake. Sarah was still crying as they let her out. Emma, I'm so sorry. If I hadn't called you that night, you would have been the one in handcuffs. At least I did that much. At least I saved you." I didn't respond, because she was right. If she hadn't called me, if she hadn't had that last-minute crisis of conscience, I would be the one facing prison right now. After they were gone, Jennifer came into the conference room. Well, that went exactly as planned. I sat down heavily. Now that the adrenaline was fading, I felt exhausted. Is it really over? The arrests are over. Now comes the legal process. But Emma, with the evidence you gathered, this is pretty much open and shut. They're going to prison. I nodded slowly. Then, for the first time since this nightmare began, I started to cry. Not for Marcus, not for Sarah, but for the life I thought I had, for the trust I'd given so freely, for the 8 years of marriage that had all been a lie. Jennifer put her hand on my shoulder. Let it out. You've earned these tears. But remember, you won. They tried to destroy you, and you destroyed them instead. That night, I went home to my empty house. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in the living room, looking at the photos on the walls. Marcus and me on our wedding day. Marcus and me on vacation in Italy. Marcus and me at the company's 5th anniversary party. All lies. Every single moment captured in those photos had been a performance for him. He'd never loved me. He'd been planning this from the beginning. I took down every photo. Every single one. Then I called a cleaning service to come the next day. I wanted every trace of Marcus removed from my home. As I was packing up his things, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Miss Thompson? This is David Mitchell. Sarah's brother. I tensed. Mr. Mitchell. I heard about the arrests. Sarah called me from jail. She's hysterical. But that's not why I'm calling. I need you to know. I had nothing to do with this. That offshore account in my name? I didn't open it. I didn't authorize it. I didn't even know it existed until the FBI contacted me this afternoon. That's very convenient, Mr. Mitchell. I know how it sounds, he said, frustration clear in his voice. But it's the truth. Last year I visited Sarah for a week. While I was there, I left my passport and some other documents at her place. I forgot them when I left. She mailed them back to me a month later. Or at least I thought she mailed everything back. Now I know Marcus must have taken my documents and used them to open that account. I was silent, processing this. Miss Thompson, I'm a high school teacher. I make $45,000 a year. I don't know anything about offshore accounts or money laundering. Please, you have to believe me. Mr. Mitchell, if you're telling the truth, you need to cooperate fully with the FBI. They'll investigate your claims. I am. I already gave them everything they asked for. But there's something else you need to know. He paused. That $2 million? That wasn't the end of it. I found some documents at Sarah's apartment when I went to feed her cat. Marcus was planning to steal $8 million total. And that was just phase 1. Once he had control of your company, he was planning to liquidate everything. All $50 million, transfer it offshore and disappear. My blood ran cold. $8 million. $50 million. If I hadn't discovered the truth, if Sarah hadn't called me, I would have lost everything. Not just my marriage, not just my company. My entire life's work would have been gone. Mr. Mitchell, you need to give those documents to the FBI immediately. I already did, he said. I just wanted you to know. My sister. She's not the person I thought she was. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what she tried to do to you. After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. $8 million. $50 million. The scope of Marcus's greed was staggering. The next morning, I got a call from Agent Rodriguez. Miss Thompson, we need you to come to the FBI office. There have been some developments. When I arrived, I was led to a conference room where Agent Rodriguez was waiting with several other agents and a man I didn't recognize. Miss Thompson, this is Detective Brian Harris from the Miami-Dade Police Department. He has some information about your husband that you need to hear. Detective Harris opened a folder. Miss Thompson, Marcus Thompson isn't your husband's real name. His name is Michael Torres. And this isn't the first time he's done this. He slid photos across the table. Over the past 10 years, Michael Torres has married 4 different women. All of them were successful businesswomen. All of them wealthy. And all of them were nearly destroyed by him. I looked at the photos. For women all around my age, all looking professional and successful. What happened to them? He stole everything. Used the same methods, fake documents, accusations of fraud, conspiracy with accomplices. The first woman, Jennifer Walsh, lost her restaurant chain. She went to prison for 3 years for fraud she didn't commit before the truth came out. The second, Marina Kowalski, lost her medical practice and nearly lost her medical license. The third, Alicia Chan, managed to catch him before he could complete his plan, but she still lost $2 million. The fourth, Rebecca Stone, committed suicide after losing everything. I felt sick. One of his victims killed herself? Detective Harris nodded grimly. Rebecca Stone couldn't handle the shame, the financial ruin, the betrayal. She left a note naming Michael Torres as the man who destroyed her life. But by then, he'd changed his identity and disappeared. How did he keep doing this? I asked. How was he not caught? He's careful. He uses different identities, different methods. He's part of a larger organization. A group that specifically targets successful women. They scout potential victims, create false identities, infiltrate the target's life, and then systematically destroy them while stealing everything they have. An organization? I felt like I was in a movie. This couldn't be real. Agent Rodriguez leaned forward. Michael Torres is just one member. We've been tracking this group for 5 years. They've stolen over $200 million from their victims. But Torres made a mistake with you. He got greedy. He tried to move too fast. And you were smart enough to catch him. What about Sarah? Is she part of this organization? Sarah Mitchell appears to be a dupe, Detective Harris said. We've been questioning her extensively. She met Torres, who she knew as Marcus, 2 years ago at a bar. He specifically targeted her because she was your friend. He manipulated her, seduced her, made her believe they were in love. She was a tool to him just like you were. I thought about Sarah's phone call, her tears, her confession. She'd been used too. But that didn't excuse what she'd done. There's more, Agent Rodriguez said. Sarah is cooperating with us. She's giving us everything she knows about Torres and his methods. In exchange, the DA is offering her a reduced sentence. How reduced? Instead of 25 years, she's looking at 7 to 10, possibly with parole after 5. I should have been angry. I should have demanded she pay the full price. But I was just tired. Fine. If her cooperation helps catch the rest of this organization, then fine. Over the next few weeks, I learned more than I ever wanted to know about Michael Torres and his criminal organization. They called themselves the Syndicate. Dramatic, I know. They had members all over the country, all running the same type of con. Target successful women, infiltrate their lives, destroy them, steal their wealth. Torres had been running this con for 12 years. I was victim number 7. Or rather, I would have been victim number 7 if I hadn't caught him. The trial was set for 4 months later. In the meantime, life had to go on. I threw myself into work, into rebuilding the security systems in my company, into trying to move forward. But it wasn't easy. I had nightmares. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. heart racing, convinced that Marcus Michael was in the house. I started therapy. I needed help processing the trauma of living with a stranger for 8 years, of being systematically deceived and manipulated. One day, about 6 weeks after the arrests, I got a visitor at my office. It was Jennifer Walsh, Michael Torres's first victim. Miss Thompson, she said, I hope you don't mind me coming here. I heard about what happened to you, and I wanted to thank you. Thank me? For what? For catching him. For stopping him. I spent 3 years in prison for crimes I didn't commit. By the time I was exonerated, my restaurants were gone, my reputation was destroyed, my marriage fell apart. I lost everything. But you stopped him before he could do to you what he did to me. And in doing so, you gave me justice too. We talked for hours. Jennifer told me her story, how she'd met Mark Townsend at a business conference, how they'd fallen in love, how he'd systematically destroyed her life. It was eerily similar to my own story. The worst part, Jennifer said, wasn't the money or even the prison time. It was knowing that I'd trusted him completely, that I'd let him into every part of my life, that I'd been so blind. I know exactly what you mean, I said quietly. But you weren't blind, Emma. You figured it out. You fought back. You won. And that gives me hope that maybe I can rebuild too. After Jennifer left, I had an idea. I called Jennifer Hayes, my attorney. Jennifer, I want to start a foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping victims of this type of fraud. We'll provide legal support, financial counseling, emotional support. Everything these women need to rebuild their lives. That's a wonderful idea, Emma. What are you going to call it? I thought for a moment. The Guardian Initiative. Because we're going to guard against this happening to anyone else. And we're going to help the victims become guardians of their own lives again. I love it. Let's do it. The trial began in November. I sat in the courtroom every single day, watching as prosecutor laid out the case against Michael Torres and Sarah Mitchell. The evidence was overwhelming. The emails, the bank records, the fake documents, the security footage, the testimony from David Mitchell, the testimony from other victims. Michael Torres's defense team tried to argue entrapment, claiming I'd somehow set him up. But it fell flat when the prosecution presented evidence of his previous crimes. Sarah took the stand in her own defense. She cried, she apologized. She claimed she'd been manipulated. And maybe she had been. But she'd also made choices. She'd chosen to betray her best friend. She'd chosen to participate in destroying my life. When it was my turn to testify, I walked to the stand with my head held high. The prosecutor asked me to describe the moment I discovered the truth. I felt like my entire world had shattered, I said. Not because my marriage was ending by that point, I'd realized the marriage had never been real, but because I'd trusted these two people completely. Sarah was my best friend. Marcus was my husband, and they'd both been lying to me, using me, planning my destruction. It was like finding out that everything I thought was real had been a performance. How did you feel about yourself? The prosecutor asked. Did you blame yourself? At first, yes. I felt stupid, naive, blind. How could I not have seen it? But then I realized I wasn't stupid. I was trusting. I was loving. I was the kind of person who believes the best in people. And there's nothing wrong with that. What was wrong was what they did. The fault lies with them, not with me. The defense attorney, during cross-examination, tried to suggest that I'd overreacted, that a simple divorce would have been sufficient. Miss Thompson, isn't it true that you were simply angry about the affair, and this is all an elaborate revenge scheme? I looked directly at the jury as I answered. If this were just about an affair, I would have filed for divorce and moved on. But this wasn't just an affair. This was a systematic, planned, coordinated attempt to steal my company, my life savings, and my freedom. They planned to frame me for crimes I didn't commit and send me to prison. That's not an affair. That's attempted destruction of a human life. And I won't apologize for defending myself. The defense had no response to that. Sarah's testimony was painful to watch. She talked about how she and I had been friends for 15 years, how she'd loved me like a sister, how Marcus had slowly manipulated her into betraying me. He told me Emma was cold to him, Sarah sobbed from the stand, that she didn't appreciate him, that she was having an affair of her own. He showed me fake text messages supposedly from Emma to another man. He made me believe that Emma was the bad guy, that we were justified in what we were doing. The prosecutor showed Sarah the text messages she'd sent to Marcus. Messages talking about how much they'd enjoy Emma's money. Messages mocking me. Messages celebrating their plan. Does this sound like someone who believed she was helping? The prosecutor asked. Sarah had no answer. The jury deliberated for just 6 hours. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous. Michael Torres, guilty on all counts. Conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, money laundering. Sentence: 25 years in federal prison, with no possibility of parole for 15 years. Sarah Mitchell, guilty of conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud, and obstruction of justice. Sentence: 7 years in federal prison, with possibility of parole after 5 years due to her cooperation with investigators. As they read the verdict, I felt nothing. No joy, no satisfaction, just a quiet sense of justice being served. Michael Torres would spend the next 15 to 25 years in prison. Sarah would spend at least 5 years there. They would pay for what they tried to do. But their punishment didn't undo what they'd done to me. It didn't give me back the 8 years I'd spent married to a lie. It didn't erase the betrayal. After the trial, I threw myself into building the Guardian Initiative. We started with a small office and 3 employees. Within 6 months, we'd helped over 50 victims of similar fraud schemes. We provided free legal services, financial counseling, and emotional support groups. Jennifer Walsh became our first employee. She knew what these victims were going through because she'd been through it herself. She was invaluable. We also started an education program, teaching people, especially successful businesswomen, how to protect themselves. The warning signs to look for. The red flags that might indicate someone is running a con. The financial safeguards to put in place. 1 year after Marcus's arrest, I gave a keynote speech at a women's business conference. The topic, Trust but Verify, protecting your business and yourself from intimate fraud. I'm not here to tell you not to trust people, I said to the audience of 500 women. Trust is essential in business and in life, but blind trust can be dangerous. So here's my advice: trust but verify. Love but protect yourself. Be open to relationships but do your due diligence. Check references even for intimate partners. Be aware of red flags. And most importantly, don't ignore your instincts. If something feels off, investigate it. After my speech, dozens of women came up to me. Some wanted to share their own stories of betrayal. Some wanted advice. But one woman in particular caught my attention. Miss Thompson, my name is Rachel Morrison. 6 months ago, my fiancé proposed to me. I was so happy. But then I attended a Guardian Initiative workshop about financial red flags in relationships. I saw patterns in my fiancé's behavior that matched what you described. I hired an investigator. She paused, tears in her eyes. My fiancé was engaged to 2 other women at the same time. He was planning to marry all 3 of us, get access to our money, and then disappear. That's when it hit me. This was why I'd gone through what I'd gone through. Not just to survive, not just to win, but to help others. To turn my pain into purpose. The Guardian Initiative grew. Within 2 years, we had offices in 5 states. We'd helped over 500 victims. We'd educated thousands more on how to protect themselves. And me? I was healing. Slowly, gradually, but healing nonetheless. I dated occasionally, but I wasn't ready for a serious relationship. Maybe I never would be, and I was okay with that. I'd built a full, meaningful life that didn't require a partner to validate it. My company TechVista thrived. With a new CFO, Linda Martinez, a former FBI agent with 15 years of experience in financial crimes, we implemented security measures that made us one of the most fraud-resistant companies in the industry. Our company value grew to $85 million. 3 years after the trial, I received a letter. It was from Sarah in prison. Dear Emma, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I wouldn't blame you if you threw this letter away without reading it. But I need to say these things even if you never see them. I've had a lot of time to think here. 3 years of time. I'm in therapy, real therapy, and I'm finally starting to understand what I did and why I did it. You're going to think this is just me making excuses, but I need you to understand. Even before Marcus, I wasn't a good person. I was selfish, manipulative, always looking for the easy way out. I used people. I used you even before Marcus came along. When Marcus approached me with his plan, part of me knew it was wrong. But the other part, the bigger part, saw an opportunity. Money, excitement, revenge for all the times I felt like you had a better life than me. Yes, I was jealous of you, Emma. I always was. You were smarter, more successful, more genuine. And I resented you for it. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I'm not asking for it. I just want you to know that what happened wasn't your fault. You weren't naive or stupid. You were kind and trusting, which are good qualities. I was the one who was broken. I'll be out in 2 years if I get parole. When I get out, I want to do what you're doing, help people. Turn my mistakes into something useful. I don't know if you'll ever believe that, but it's true. Thank you, Emma. For everything. Even for sending me to prison. I needed this. I needed to face real consequences for once in my life. I hope you're happy. I hope you found peace. You deserve it. Sarah. I read the letter 3 times. Then I wrote a response. Sarah, I received your letter. I appreciate your honesty. You're right. I don't forgive you. I don't know if I ever will. What you did was unforgivable. But I appreciate that you're taking responsibility for it. When you get out, if you're serious about helping people, the Guardian Initiative will consider hiring you. Not because I forgive you, but because victims need to hear from someone who was on the other side. Your perspective could be valuable. But here's the condition. You have to be completely honest about what you did and why. No excuses, no minimizing. Own it fully. Only then can you help others avoid making the same mistakes. I'm not happy, Sarah. Not yet. But I'm healing. I'm building something meaningful. I'm turning my pain into purpose. And that's enough for now. I hope you find your own path to redemption. But remember, redemption isn't about being forgiven. It's about becoming someone worth forgiving, even if that forgiveness never comes. Emma. I sent the letter and felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I wasn't doing this for Sarah. I was doing it for me, for my own healing. For years after the trial, I met someone. His name was Daniel Reed. And he was a trauma therapist who specialized in helping victims of intimate partner fraud. We met at a Guardian Initiative fundraiser. Miss Thompson, he said, approaching me after my speech, I've been following your work. What you've built is incredible. Thank you, I said. And please call me Emma. We talked for hours. He told me about his work, about the psychological patterns he saw in fraud victims. I told him about my experiences, about building the Guardian Initiative, about the struggle to trust again. The hardest part, I said, is believing that anyone could actually love me for me. Not for what I have. Daniel nodded. That's a common fear. But here's what I tell my patients. The fact that one person betrayed you doesn't mean everyone will. Yes, be cautious. Yes, protect yourself. But don't let one bad person close your heart to all the good people out there. We started seeing each other slowly, cautiously. I was honest with him from the beginning about my trust issues, my fears, my damage. And he was patient. Emma, we got them. The entire syndicate. Thanks to Torres's conviction and the evidence you helped us gather, we've been able to track down and arrest 15 members of the organization. They've been running cons like Torres's for over 20 years. We estimate they've stolen over $400 million from their victims. $400 million? I breathed. And we're recovering as much as we can. Many of the victims, including you, will receive some restitution. 2 months later, I received a check from the FBI for $3.5 million. Money they'd recovered from Michael Torres's hidden accounts. I didn't keep it. I donated every penny to the Guardian Initiative. Because it had never been about the money. It had been about justice, about protecting others, about making sure my pain had meaning. The Guardian Initiative continued to grow. We opened offices in 10 states. We helped over 2,000 victims. We educated tens of thousands more. We lobbied for stronger laws protecting victims of intimate partner fraud. We changed lives. And I changed too. I grew stronger, wiser, more careful but not closed off. I learned to trust again, but to trust intelligently. I learned that love and caution aren't mutually exclusive. 7 years after the trial, I married Daniel. It was a small ceremony, just close friends and family. Jennifer Hayes was my maid of honor. We signed our prenup with smiles, knowing it was about protection, not lack of trust. On our wedding night, Daniel asked me, "Any regrets?" About Marcus, about everything that happened. I thought about it carefully before answering. No, not anymore. Yes, what happened was terrible. Yes, I lost years of my life to a lie. But if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have started the Guardian Initiative. I wouldn't have helped all those people. And I wouldn't have learned what real love actually looks like. And what does real love look like? He asked. It looks like someone who signs a prenup without hesitation. Someone who celebrates my success instead of resenting it. Someone who sees my damage and says, I'm here to help you heal, not I'm here to exploit your vulnerabilities. It looks like you, Daniel. 8 years after the trial, I received word that Michael Torres had died in prison. A heart attack at age 52. I felt nothing. No joy, no sadness, just a sense of closure. Sarah was released on parole after serving 5 years. True to my word, I gave her a job at the Guardian Initiative. Not in a leadership position, but as a speaker at our events. She traveled around the country telling her story, warning others about how easily someone can be manipulated into betraying the people they love. I'm not the victim here, she'd say at these events. Emma is the victim. But I'm also not just a villain. I'm a cautionary tale. I'm proof that anyone can be manipulated if they're already vulnerable, already damaged, already looking for an easy way out. Don't be like I was. Don't let jealousy and greed turn you into someone you're not. Her speeches were powerful, uncomfortable but powerful, and they helped people. 10 years after that 3 a.m. phone call that changed my life, I stood on a stage at a National Women's Leadership Conference, looking out at an audience of 5,000 women. 10 years ago, I said, my husband and my best friend tried to destroy me. They planned to steal my company, frame me for crimes I didn't commit, and send me to prison. They came very close to succeeding. I paused, looking at the sea of faces. But they didn't succeed. And you know why? Because when I discovered the truth, I didn't fall apart. I got angry. I got smart. And I got even, not through revenge but through justice. Today my former husband is dead. My former best friend works for me, helping others avoid the mistakes she made. And I'm standing here happy, successful, in a healthy relationship, running a company worth over $100 million and a nonprofit that's helped thousands of victims. They tried to destroy me, but they built me instead. They tried to take everything from me, but they gave me purpose. They tried to break me, but they made me stronger. I leaned forward, making eye contact with as many people as I could. Here's what I want you to understand. Bad things will happen to you. People will betray you. People will try to use you, hurt you, destroy you. That's not a question of if, it's a question of when. But here's the thing. You get to choose what happens next. You can be a victim or you can be a survivor. You can let the betrayal destroy you, or you can let it transform you. You can close your heart, or you can open it more carefully. I chose transformation. I chose to fight. I chose to turn my pain into purpose. And that choice made all the difference. The audience erupted in applause. As I left the stage, dozens of women came up to me, sharing their own stories of betrayal and survival. Each one reminded me why I did this work, why my experience mattered, why sharing my story could help others. That night, back in my hotel room, Daniel called me. How was the speech? Good. Really good. How are things at home? Good. Emma Jr. learned to say mama today. Emma Jr., our daughter, adopted a year ago. Named after me, not because I'm vain, but because I wanted her to know that she came from strength, from survival, from transformation. I miss you both, I said. I'll be home tomorrow. We miss you too. Emma, I'm proud of you. You know that, right? I know. I'm proud of me too. And I was. Not proud that I'd been betrayed. Not proud of the pain I'd endured. But proud of what I'd done with it. Proud that I'd refused to be a victim. Proud that I'd fought back. Proud that I'd turned my worst nightmare into my greatest triumph. Michael Torres tried to destroy Emma Thompson. Instead, he created her. Sarah Mitchell tried to betray her best friend. Instead, she gave her best friend the strength to become unstoppable. They gave me pain. I gave the world purpose. They gave me betrayal. I gave the world the Guardian Initiative. They tried to take everything from me. Instead, they showed me what I was truly capable of. That's my story. Not a story of victimhood, but a story of victory. Not a story of destruction, but a story of resurrection. And if you're going through something similar, if someone you trusted has betrayed you, if someone you loved has destroyed you, remember this. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become after it happens. Choose strength. Choose growth. Choose transformation. Choose to be a survivor, not a victim. Choose to fight back with justice, not revenge. Choose to build something beautiful from the ashes of betrayal. That's what I did. And if I can do it, so can you. But really, it's not the end. It's a beginning. Because every day, more victims find the Guardian Initiative. Every day, more lives are changed. Every day, the work continues. Michael Torres thought he was destroying one woman. Instead, he created a movement. And that's the best revenge of all, not hurting him back, but making sure his actions created something beautiful instead of something broken. He wanted to leave me in ruins. Instead, he left me with purpose. And I wouldn't change a thing. 15 years after that fateful 3 a.m. phone call, I sat in my corner office overlooking the city skyline. The Guardian Initiative now had offices in 23 states and had helped over 10,000 victims of financial fraud and intimate betrayal. My phone rang. It was Linda Martinez, who was now the president of the Guardian Initiative while I remained the founder and chair of the board. "Emma, you need to see this. Turn on the news. Channel 7. I grabbed the remote and switched on the television. A breaking news report filled the screen. In a stunning development, federal prosecutors have announced the arrest of Malcolm Sinclair, a billionaire real estate developer, on charges of running an international fraud ring targeting wealthy women across 3 continents. Authorities say this case was cracked open thanks to evidence provided by the Guardian Initiative, founded by businesswoman Emma Thompson. My heart raced. Malcolm Sinclair. I'd heard that name before. 2 years ago, one of our clients, a woman named Patricia Holmes, had come to us with suspicions about her fiancé. We'd investigated and discovered he was connected to the remnants of the syndicate, the same organization Michael Torres had been part of. But we hadn't known how high up the chain it went. Malcolm Sinclair wasn't just a member. He was the founder and mastermind behind the entire operation. Linda burst into my office moments later. "Emma, did you see? I'm watching it now. Malcolm Sinclair. We finally got him." Not just him. The FBI arrested 47 people this morning. They're calling it the largest fraud ring bust in U.S. history. And Emma, they're saying the Guardian Initiative's work was instrumental in building the case. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. 15 years. 15 years of work, of helping victims, of gathering evidence, of slowly building a case against an organization that had destroyed hundreds of lives. How much did they steal? I asked quietly. Over $1.2 billion. From 847 victims across 17 countries. $1.2 billion. 847 victims. And we'd helped stop them. My phone started ringing off the hook. News organizations, victims calling to thank us, FBI agents wanting interviews. It was overwhelming. That evening, I did a live interview with a major news network. "Ms. Thompson," the reporter asked, 15 years ago, you were almost a victim of this same organization. Now you've helped bring down its leader. How does that feel?" I thought carefully before answering. It feels like justice. Not just for me, but for every woman who was targeted, manipulated, and destroyed by these criminals. It feels like proof that victims don't have to stay victims. We can fight back. We can win. What would you say to other victims watching right now? I'd say this. What happened to you wasn't your fault. Being kind, being trusting, being loving, these aren't weaknesses. They're strengths. The fault lies with the people who exploited those qualities. But you don't have to let that betrayal define you. You can transform it. You can use it to build something meaningful. And you're not alone. Organizations like the Guardian Initiative exist to help you fight back. After the interview, Daniel met me at the studio with Emma Jr., who was now 10 years old, and her little brother David, who was 6. "Mama!" Emma Jr. ran to me. "We saw you on TV. You look so cool." I hugged her tight. "Thanks, baby." David tugged on my sleeve. "Mama, the man on TV said you're a hero. Are you a hero?" I knelt down to his level. "I'm not a hero, sweetheart. I'm just someone who decided that bad things that happen to us don't have to be the end of the story. They can be the beginning of something better." "That sounds like a hero to me," Daniel said, smiling. That night, after the kids were in bed, Daniel and I sat on our back porch, looking at the stars. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if Sarah hadn't called you that night?" he asked. "All the time," I admitted. "I'd probably be in prison. Or bankrupt. Or dead like Rebecca Stone. But Sarah did call. And I did figure it out. And I did fight back. And all of that led me here, to you, to our kids, to the Guardian Initiative, to this moment. No regrets. Not anymore. The pain was real. The betrayal was devastating. But it led to all of this. How can I regret that?" The next few months were a whirlwind. The Malcolm Sinclair case went to trial, and I testified as an expert witness about fraud patterns and victim manipulation. The trial lasted 6 months, but the verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all counts. Malcolm Sinclair was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. During the trial, something unexpected happened. I met Clara Sinclair, Malcolm's daughter. She approached me during a court recess. "Miss Thompson? I'm Clara, Malcolm Sinclair's daughter." I tensed, unsure what to expect. "I just wanted to say thank you," she continued, tears in her eyes. Growing up, I knew something was wrong with my father. The way he talked about women, the way he manipulated everyone around him. But I was too scared to say anything. You stopped him. We talked for over an hour. Clara told me about growing up with a father who viewed women as targets, as resources to be exploited. She'd been in therapy for years, trying to unpack the damage of being raised by a monster. Have you ever thought about sharing your story? I asked. About what it's like to grow up with someone like that? I wouldn't know where to start. The Guardian Initiative has a program for family members of perpetrators. People who were damaged by association, who carry guilt for things they couldn't control. We could use someone like you. Clara joined our team 6 months later. Her perspective from the inside of a fraud operation from the family of a perpetrator was invaluable. She helped us understand the psychology of these criminals in ways we never could have otherwise. Meanwhile, Sarah had become one of our most effective speakers. She'd served her time, done her therapy, and genuinely transformed herself. She traveled constantly, speaking at colleges, corporations, and community centers about manipulation, betrayal, and redemption. One day she came to my office. We'd maintained a professional relationship, but it was still complicated. We'd never be friends again, but we'd found a way to work together. Emma, I got an offer. A major publisher wants me to write a book about my experience. About how I betrayed you, why I did it, and how I changed. That's great, Sarah. You should do it. I wanted to ask your permission first. I'd be writing about you, about what I did to you. The book became a bestseller. And surprisingly, it helped a lot of people, not just potential victims but people who recognized their own capacity for betrayal and wanted to change. 20 years after that 3 a.m. phone call, the Guardian Initiative celebrated its 15th anniversary with a gala fundraiser. Over 2,000 people attended, victims we'd helped, donors, supporters, and allies. I stood on the stage looking out at the crowd. Jennifer Hayes, my lawyer who'd been with me from the beginning, stood beside me. Linda Martinez, our president, was there. Sarah Mitchell stood in the back, having bought a ticket like everyone else, still working to make amends. 20 years ago, I received a phone call that shattered my world. My husband and my best friend had betrayed me in the worst possible way. They'd planned to steal everything from me and destroy my life. The room was silent, everyone listening intently. At that moment I had a choice. I could become a victim or I could become a fighter. I could let the betrayal destroy me, or I could use it to build something meaningful. I chose to fight, and that choice led to all of this. I gestured around the room. The Guardian Initiative has helped over 15,000 victims. We've recovered over $300 million in stolen assets. We've educated hundreds of thousands of people about protecting themselves. We've helped pass legislation in 37 states strengthening protections for victims of intimate partner fraud. Applause filled the room. But more importantly, we've given people hope. We've shown them that betrayal doesn't have to be the end of their story. It can be the beginning of something powerful. I paused, emotion catching in my throat. I want to thank everyone who's been part of this journey. Every victim who trusted us with their story. Every volunteer who gave their time. Every donor who believed in our mission. More applause, louder this time. But this isn't the end. It's not even close. There are still victims out there who need our help. There are still criminals operating who need to be stopped. There are still people who need to hear that they can survive betrayal and come out stronger. I looked directly at the camera recording the event for our online audience. If you're watching this and you're going through something similar, if someone you trusted has betrayed you, if you're scared and alone and don't know what to do, reach out to us. Visit guardianinitiative.org. Call our helpline. We're here for you. You are not alone. And if you want to support this work, if you believe in what we're doing, subscribe to our channel. Follow our social media. Donate if you can. Share our resources. Because every person we reach is a potential victim we can save. Every story we share is a life we can change. The gala raised $7 million that night, our biggest fundraiser ever. After the event, as I was leaving, a young woman approached me. She looked nervous. "Miss Thompson? I'm sorry to bother you, but I needed to meet you. My name is Amanda. 5 years ago, I saw you speak at my university. You talked about red flags in relationships. I realized my boyfriend at the time was exhibiting all of them. Did you get out? I asked. I did. I broke up with him even though he tried to convince me I was crazy. 3 months later, he was arrested for fraud. Turns out he'd been scamming multiple women at my school. If I hadn't heard you speak, I would have been one of his victims. You saved me, Miss Thompson. You literally saved my life. She started crying. And now I'm in law school. I want to be a prosecutor specializing in fraud cases. I want to put people like him away. I want to be like you. I hugged her. You don't need to be like me, Amanda. You need to be like you, the version of yourself that's strong enough to recognize danger, brave enough to walk away and pass. If you're going through something similar, please reach out. Visit guardianinitiative.org. Call our 24/7 helpline. We're here for you. And if you found this story helpful, if it's given you hope or strength or just made you feel less alone, please share it. Subscribe to our channel. Follow us on social media. Share our resources. Because every person who hears this message is a potential victim we can save. Every share is a life we might change. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our content. We share survivor stories, practical advice, legal information, and resources to help you protect yourself and recover from betrayal. Leave a comment below telling us your story, or just letting us know you're here. This community exists to support each other, and your voice matters. Marcus Thompson Michael Torres tried to destroy Emma Thompson. Instead, he created a warrior, a survivor, an advocate, a movement. And that's the best possible ending to this story. Not revenge, not bitterness but transformation. Not destruction but creation. Not victimhood but victory. This is Emma Thompson signing off. Remember, you are stronger than your betrayal. You are more than what was done to you. You are capable of transforming pain into purpose. And I'm living proof. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being part of this community. Together we're changing the world one survivor at a time. Subscribe, share, and stay strong. We're in this together.